Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to our September Board of Education meeting, and I would like to open our meeting with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. I'll now recognize Ms. Cindy Sellers for our Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Members of the board, you have the agenda in front of you, and I would accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a first and a second? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We do have one public comment that was sent in, and I'm going to read that to you. Bear with me. This public comment is from John Dyson. It says, "Dear Alexander County Board of Education, my children are currently enrolled in the virtual academy and have been having problems with it from day one. It appears that the virtual academy was put together at the last minute with little thought to how it can and is affecting our children. Whenever I have called the appropriate school for my children to help them resolve a problem they are having with Canvas, the response I get is, 'We are still learning the system.' The schools are very respectful and helpful, but the fact remains that my children are stuck with the low grade they received on an assignment that was poorly put together. We were also told that synchronous learning would be taking place in the virtual academy, but this is not the case. I, along with other parents, were under the impression that synchronous learning meant that my children would be watching a video of what was taking place in the classroom at the same time, synchronous learning. I have taken courses and taught college courses using Canvas and understand how difficult it can be to put the courses together without training. It is evident that little or no training took place before the beginning of this school year on how to use and set up a Canvas course. Each of my children's courses are set up differently, and assignments and course materials are not posted in a logical fashion. There needed to be a video tutorial posted on Canvas instructing students on where to find course materials and assignments for each course. It can be difficult for college students to take an online course for the first time, but our students are expected to know how to do it. In short, the virtual academy has hastily put together, and little or no training was provided to the teachers on how to set up their Canvas courses. I do not blame the teachers for this shortfall, but I squarely place the blame on the Alexander County Board of Education for not being proactive during the summer months when they knew that remote learning was a distinct possibility." And Mr. Dyson, I don't have the answers, but Canvas is a statewide software or statewide platform that we use, and the Board of Education does not develop or maintain that platform. But I would like to ask if Dr. Curry could come up for just a minute and give some answers to some of the concerns that Mr. Dyson has.
Well, first, I'd just like to say that am I on mic here? Okay. I'd like to say that we do appreciate the patience that's been extended to us. It has been a difficult summer. We did not decide until July 7th to pursue anything with a virtual academy or Canvas courses. When we pursued on July 7th, we had a lot of trouble getting in touch with Canvas and getting a quote. We were promised a quote on July 9th. And I followed up several times with Jessica Anderson, and I have an email from her on July 22nd saying they have finally acknowledged our quote. So until we could get access to Canvas, we could not provide any training. And then it was near the 1st of August before we could get any training, and we already had staff coming in for numerous other trainings. It is not ideal, but if you've been watching the local or the state level news, at any level, Canvas has had problems with NC Ed Cloud, and a lot of systems have been shut down. Wish we could have been better prepared, but we also have a technology staff of 4 people, and we were rolling out a one-to-one initiative. So it certainly would have been our desire, but in a small system like this, it's just impossible to turn it around and to do it really, really well. So I hope you'll remain patient with us. And Mr. Dyson, we are more than happy if you've set up Canvas. We do training at the high school every Wednesday. That's an optional training with staff. I spoke to Mr. Palmer about that. I think elementary school is going pretty well. As far as synchronous and asynchronous learning, it's a combination of both, depending upon the level of the student, with additional support times. It was never designed to be completely synchronous because we just don't have the staffing to pull that off. Okay. But I would be happy if Mr. Dyson would like to call his school principals or call me. I'll be happy to entertain more conversation and see what we can do better.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
You're
Curry.
welcome.
Okay, members of the board, you have the consent agenda in front of you. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to our reports section, and we'll start with Nathan Robinson, our athletic director at the high school. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Appreciate you guys having me on tonight. This conversation came out of a Booster Club meeting that we had last week. We've been looking at some live streaming for our athletic events for probably the last, I looked into it probably for the first time probably about 3 years ago when some other local schools, when it kind of started with that. And it's becoming more prominent now, okay? We're still waiting on some guidance from the High School Athletic Association, the governor, to how many fans we can have at sporting events, indoor versus outdoor. Obviously, we got some news this week, with 2.5 where we can have more people indoor right now. But outdoor events, we're still waiting on what that's going to look like. But There is an initiative right now going on with the High School Athletic Association. They are really pushing this NFHS network. If anybody's ever watched any of our playoff events, some of our playoff events have been live streamed before, and you can basically buy that with like a monthly subscription or like a yearly subscription. And kind of digging into this a little bit last week, I had the opportunity to contact the NFHS, and we can have basically installed here 2 Pixelot systems, one in our varsity gym and one in our football stadium for no cost this year. And it kind of goes with, this PowerPoint here. The 2 is you make your revenue off of subscriptions sold, and you make your revenue off ads. You can sell ads as part of the subscription itself. You guys ever... if you stream live TV now, it's just almost like a Netflix subscription. You just pay for that subscription. You get all the high school sporting events throughout the country. Now Alexander Central will just be a part of that, and we get the revenue share from anyone that signs up under that Alexander Central name. So maybe the next slide, we'll look at all right, so this kind of gives you a little bit more of what that Pixelot camera looks like. It is it's kind of a it's self-automated, self-production. You don't need someone to hold the camera. And basically what we do is we send them our information. We're going to have a varsity basketball game starting at 6 p.m. on Tuesday night. They have that and everything's set, everything. They run all that themselves. It's you can integrate it with the scoreboard, so it has an activated scoreboard and everything as the game goes along. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what you're basically getting the hardware that comes with it as well. All right, so as a part of our agreement with our website, the NAS, the National Amateur Sports, is an organization out of Charlotte that we have our website through. If you guys have ever, if you have athletes and you've had to go in there and fill out their online forms, they actually do our website as well. So they partner with the NFHS, and they are offering their school systems 2 of these cameras completely free of cost. That's installation and everything. I had some great conversations with some local athletic directors, and along with the National Amateur Sports and the NFHS last week, just kind of confirming a lot of the things that we talked about. One of the concerns that we had was internet capabilities, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But you know, if we have one of these, we have 2 of these installed, one in varsity gym, one in the football stadium, we can cover a lot of, you know, even graduations can be a part of this network, and can be. This kind of gives you a little bit of the annual revenue share. Where you're really going to make your revenue back is on the yearly subscriptions. When somebody goes out and purchases a yearly subscription, I believe those yearly subscriptions are $69.99, I believe. We'll make $20 per subscription, and it kind of goes from there. So that's, you know, getting some information from a lot of other schools, you know, and this year could be an exception just because the lack of fans at games. They're not seeing a lot of revenue coming in just because, you know, we're always wanting to promote, you know, fans to come to the games, you know, as much as possible. What they're seeing a lot of times is, you know, grandparents, aunts, uncles that live in other states, sometimes other countries. You know, if you have rain games, gives fans an opportunity to still watch those. It talks about there 100% of all revenue on advertisements. We can sell up to 1 advertisement. And that's how that NAS, the National Amateur Sports, that's how we can get them at 0 cost for free. They're going to sell at least 1 of those advertising spots. They do the same thing with our website. They'll sell advertising spots on our website as well from time to time. The other needs, okay, and this is when I really started digging into this, and even talking with our IT department and Kim Bishop later this week. The internet capability, especially at Central Park for softball and soccer, especially baseball, because it is so far away from our school, JV gym, maybe even tennis courts. Other sports it's going to be tough to do is swim, golf, track, because a lot of times those are not even held on our campus, especially the swim and the golf. What we've looked into is we will not necessarily need one of those pixel lock cameras, just basically more of a stationary type camera, okay, that can just pick up audio. And still, as long as we're part of that organization, we can still run it through the NFHS network. One thing that I had concerns about was especially our internet at the football stadium, because we do not have like a hard Ethernet line there. And they basically, you know, things have changed through the past several years, and they're being able to do like a spot-to-spot internet. Now, talking with Kim Bishop, she felt like that would definitely work here. Our biggest concerns is probably baseball press box, because it is so far away and there is no wireless internet there. So those costs, I just hadn't had a lot of time to get all those costs together. She's going to help me with what it's going to take to get Wi-Fi at those venues, and I'm going to look at looking at the prices for the cameras. But basically, all we would need there is like basically a stationary type camera. We just need internet at those facilities, and that is, you know, kind of where we're at with that. I know it's kind of, I try to want to be short and quick to the point. If you guys have questions, I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my knowledge.
I do, Mr. Robinson. Just, I'm making an assumption here, and I know how dangerous that is. I learned that a long time ago. But I assume, like for a playoff game, if the hosting school does not have this program, then you would not be able to see it through the subscription. Is that correct?
That is correct. Even a conference away game, if they do not have the capabilities, then no, you will not be able to see it. Just our home games.
Right, okay. And then state championships. I know that some of that has been offered, but you had to have a subscription to see that also. Is this the same program by chance, or do you know?
Yes, this is the exact same program that our High School Athletic Association uses for
So
state championship
state
games.
championship games, then, we would have access to?
We should have access to
Okay.
those games,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Do you know how many districts in our conference have?
We met as athletic directors a couple weeks ago, just kind of talking about several things. I know McDowell is really looking into this, and they're one high school. I'm not sure about the others. All of Iredell County have this. We're obviously not in their conference anymore, and this year looks a little bit different with our non-conference schedule, but all of Iredell County, Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, are the ones that kind of jump off the top of my head. It's kind of moving into more of the rural areas. It's probably a little bit more prominent in your urban type settings right now.
Thank you.
So, and we talked about this, I was at the booster meeting, and our facilities talked about it as well, but we're just going to continue to move forward and evaluate the costs as you can get us the information. Is that?
Yes, I've got an agreement right now from the NFHS that I'd like to share with Dr. Hefner, and
Okay.
maybe let our attorneys kind of look over that before anything's signed. But I would really love to start looking into the cost of, what it's going to take to get internet at those places and the cost of those cameras. Because we can get 2 of them for free, fully installed, those nice Pixlock cameras, which probably save close to about $13,000,
Okay.
which is, awesome.
Okay. Is there any other questions, comments?
Mr. Robertson, do you feel like we could get this going by basketball season or football season if we moved on?
I asked that question when I talked to them this past week. There's and the only reason they're limiting 2 cameras right now, 2 of the Pixlock cameras, to schools is because there's such a shortage right now. So they told me it wouldn't take very long. It would just be the installation, getting the company out to get it installed, those type things would probably take the longest, because they're still sitting on shelves and they're kind of waiting on people to buy them up. So I'm hoping, I think volleyball is going to start about mid-November, be our first sport in varsity gym. So hopefully that would be a pretty quick turnaround if we can get it about mid-November.
All right, thank you.
Nathan, this is Matt Cooksey. Could you give me a little clarity on the away games? If the school that they're playing at is part of the system, would then a subscriber have the ability to watch that game at the away game?
Absolutely. Basically, the subscriber, when you subscribe to the NFHS network, you can watch any high school game that's part of that network. If you want to watch some, right now, Texas high school football, you can go in there and watch it. It's just, as long as they're subscribing and they're live streaming their games, you'll be able to watch it. Yeah. Thank you guys again for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll have a transportation update by Mr. John Curdy, Director of Transportation.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Hefner. Tonight during my presentation, we're going to try to do a slideshow. Some of you may or may have been to Transportation Department. This will give you a little idea of what our department looks like. It's also going to show some of our new equipment, vehicles that's been purchased. So we'll just go through this as I give my report. Currently, the Transportation Department consists of 5 personnel. We are short 1 mechanic at this time. Of course, we have 1 director. We have 2 mechanics that are responsible for all the yellow school buses, Stephen Mash, and one of these also is Mr. Darren Parker, which is now the new assistant director since the retirement of Mr. Conan Millsaps. We have 1 mechanic, Mr. Stephen Carson, who is going to be responsible for all the activity buses and scheduling local truck maintenance, and also miscellaneous equipment. He is also hauling fuel at this time until we do hire a new employee. We're trying to wait on field trips to resume, where we'll have more, business for him to do. The fuel truck driver, of course, will be responsible for hauling fuel, washing buses, and also assisting mechanics in their daily duties. We have Ms. Ravonda Carter, who is our BSIP and TIM specialist. At this time, we operate 6 state trucks, 3 with service bodies. We have 2 fuel trucks and 1 wrecker. We have 3 local trucks. We traveled last year 23,864 miles. This was a reduction of over 3,887 miles due to COVID being shut down the last 3 months of school. We maintain approximately 145 vehicles and equipment. Our total hours logged for the 1920 school year was approximately 10,978 hours. Each month, mechanics perform a 45-point inspection on each bus. This includes activity buses as well as along with fuel trucks and wrecker. The inspections cannot exceed a 30-day interval. Mechanics also perform preventive maintenance orders that are issued by DPI. We also perform daily repairs as called in by our drivers. Mechanics also install new camera systems as well as GPS tracking units, which are real-time viewing cameras. With COVID-19 hitting in mid-March, our yellow bus mileage dropped considerably, as you can imagine. In 18-19 school year, we ran 638,191 miles. For the 1920 school year, it was 413,050 miles, a reduction of over 225,000 miles. On our yellow buses used for local field trips, the 18-19 school year, we ran 5,917 miles. For the 1920 school year, it was 1,073, because the last 3 months of school were loaded with field trips. So that's the reason it was such a high reduction on that. Excuse me. I've got a new phone here and I don't know sure how to use this thing. Which of the 40 buses we are running now, 21 are 72 passenger Bluebirds. These range from 2015 year to current. We operate 40 regular school buses and 4 lift buses. We have 7 spire buses. 1 of them is also a lift bus. We have 5 buses in park status and have 11 credits. We received 1 new replacement bus this past year and should receive 1 this upcoming year. We have 42 buses equipped with 3 interior camera or more systems, 6 buses equipped with stop arm camera systems. At this time, we have 18 activity buses ranging in years from as old as 1987 to a 2019 model. Field trips in the 18-19 school year, we run a total mileage of 61,568 miles. In the 1920 school year, 34,900 miles. In 18-19, our diesel consumption was 107,287 gallons. 1920, 78,287, difference of 29,000 gallons lower this past school year. Now for our maintenance fleet, you've probably already seen some of the new service trucks that's been purchased. 11 vehicles traveled over 241,481 miles during the 1920 school year. These range in age of 1999 to 2019 models. Highest mileage on one of our older trucks, 143,621, to one of our newest trucks is 4,688 miles. We now have 4 utility bodies, 3/4-ton trucks, and 1 1-ton 4-wheel drive truck. At this time, we have 6 vehicles that are currently on the replacement schedule for the near future. So I believe that about wraps it up. Anybody got any questions? The picture you've seen where we're redoing our parks department, This is where we use those bus drivers at the mid-March, April, when we could still use them until they shut that down. And this was a big help for us. This is something that's been needing to be done for a long time, but we never did have enough time to, use that space in our bay areas to move everything out and redo it. So it's really nice now, and is a whole lot better improved and can find things a whole lot easier. So this is the new reefer truck or refrigerated truck for food service. Of course, that's the new utility body trucks for the maintenance department. Very nice units. That's where we had some side work done that got worked out for us. And that's our new state replacement truck that we received this year. That's the new 14-foot dump trailer. And this is a 24-foot deck over trailer. And it starts over.
Are there any comments or questions?
John, will you repeat again how many vehicles you all service every year?
Well, we maintain about 145 different vehicles.
And I saw in one of the bays, that was even a lawnmower, tractor, all of those things for the school system count into that number.
We try to work on some of those. Some of those are serviced through Beasley's that are bought new, as far as the warranty. But, somebody asks us to try to look at one, we'll try to help them out and do what we can. Because we have time and can work it in our schedule.
Good.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Chris Campbell for our maintenance update.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey.
I'm going to try to turn this up a little higher. Maintenance department update. Back in November of last year, we met and y'all all approved a lot of projects. And so I told you at this year's thing I would go over those projects. Of course, my goal was to have all those done before the start of the school year, but with COVID-19, windows, materials, supplies, rain, everything kind of put that behind. But at the start of this school year, we had 3 of those projects that were not completed. The roof at Wittenberg and a few others, I'll go over those. So in the maintenance department, we have a 6-member crew, not counting myself as the director. I'm gonna call them out and name them from right. I'm gonna go from right to left. On the right, we have Barry Millsaps, who is in his 37th year he's the assistant maintenance director. Next to him is Brent Snyder, who's about to complete his 5th year with the maintenance department. Todd Austin, October will be his 1st year completed. Michael Dermeyer, I think he's tomorrow will be his 1st week. Sean Reed is in his 32nd year with the Alexander County Schools Maintenance Department, and then Barry Brookshire just completed his 15th year. 5 of those, with the exception of Brent Snyder, are alumni of Alexander County Schools. Between those 6 guys, this does not count me, we have 110 years of combined experience with Alexander County Schools. Work orders. As I said, we have our work orders submission through FMX, which they provide work orders. They each have a tablet like this one. And I assign them work orders. They can go on, if I'm not available to assign work orders, they have all picked up on this really well. They go on and pick up the work orders and complete them themselves without being assigned. So we never have a lack of, there's never any downtime. They always know if they're at a school, they can look and see if there's something that was not been assigned or something that someone else has, and they can pick up on that. So there's no downtime with the maintenance department there. Since September 1st of last year, there have been 1,499 maintenance requests submitted. Currently, that number has been updated. We currently have 48 outstanding work orders as of this meeting. It's still a 96.5% completion of all work orders. With 6 people, to me, that's amazing. That's an average of 241 completed work orders per employee. That does not include our preventive maintenance, like changing filters, cleaning coils, stuff that we try to squeeze in when we can, but to be honest, we rarely have time to do that. Filters, we make sure that we clean the filters, change the filters at least every month and a half to 2 months, if time allows. Projects done in-house since March. Pretty much all this has been done since March. We've done chiller cleaning, which they go through and clean all the chillers, go through all those. We've installed at least 1 bottle filler station at every school. We're currently in the process of going back and trying to put a second one in, because one of the requirements that they suggested for COVID is to shut down the water fountains, but you could use bottle filling stations, and you still had to provide water for each student. We've remodeled nurses' stations to kind of put an isolation room. All of those are still in process. We still have a lot to do there, but we were not told that was a necessity until the July 14th date. We've serviced all boilers. We still have, I'm not exactly sure on the numbers. I get it confused with the chillers, but there's 7 to 9 boilers still at the school that are operation. We have to service those and get them inspected. Now they want us to inspect them. It used to be you'd shut them down and then they would inspect them. Now they want you to inspect them. They want them to be inspected while they're running. We've repaired several HVAC units. We repaired lighting where needed. As I told the facilities committee the other week, a few weeks ago, the high school was struck, I believe it was central office or the high school maybe at the same time was struck by lightning, which knocked out probably 60 to 70% of the HVAC system here because it's all computerized. It also knocked out the fire alarm system for the high school. So the high school has custodians and teachers and other people going through and doing a fire watch every hour, and they have to sign off on it until we can get that fixed. Currently in the stage of getting estimates for that repair. We installed plexiglass at the entry of all offices. Instead of putting them over the desk, we removed the window. In-house, we removed a window and cut a slot in it at each office so we could secure our entire office and not just the person behind the desk. We purchased and delivered hand sanitizer and supplies for deep cleaning. That was a continuous process. I ordered hand sanitizer in March, and some of it was not delivered until July. We repaired damaged ramps and decks where needed. Sugarloaf was getting really bad, and once we moved out that mobile unit, we have to keep the septic fields bush hogged and sprayed. Filter changing, that's an ongoing, constant thing. Move furniture for the central office repairs, and then move furniture back for central office repairs. And then we help with the summer commodity food shipments. Along with transportation, they help too. And what that was is she had it shipped to the maintenance department. We unloaded it from one truck and then delivered it to each school. So we'll start with the high school and the projects. These are just a list. Most of this is stuff that y'all already know about. This is the stuff that was on that list, the entryway safety concerns, the fencing around SSC. The items in white are the things that I have not completed yet, the removal of the modular unit. The reason that was due is because they had trouble getting the demolition permits from the state for that, because that office had shut down for COVID. They do have that permit, and they're going to try to do it this Wednesday, which would be tomorrow. Constructed a new storage building on the practice field, replaced the roof on the field house, the lights on the baseball field, remodeled the concession stand, the press box, installed concrete around the field house, put a handicap where the ADA pad, we put a pad right there where they park outside so they can actually come in and watch the game from inside, and made a ramp to where if they wanted to, they could go down in front of the field, which I think was much needed. The lighting was replaced, which it really bothered me that we didn't get to play many games out there, and we didn't get to play any with the new lights. JV gym lighting was upgraded. That was a safety concern because it was very dark in the JV gym. Re-roofed the ag building to fix those leaks. Repaved the entry drive from Loudon Road. The JV gym HVAC still needs to be replaced. We had to get an engineer drawing where we're going to put that. And so I just got that back last week. And then CTE renovated the old Sugarloaf Fire Department to have the fire class up there next semester. And this is just some pictures of some of the items that were completed. Bethlehem Elementary School, the total cost of repairs there was $16,023.24. We built a canopy for the bus riders so that they could come out without being on rainy days, and put a canopy over the before and after school care for the same reason, and then renovated the office floors where the carpet was deteriorating and falling apart. East Alexander Middle School, we replaced the foyer carpet and the hallway carpet with LVT tile. The hallways were linoleum that was cracked and falling apart, and so we installed LVT, which the thing about LVT is you do not have to wax it, so it's going to save money. You don't have to clean the carpet, you just mop it just like you would a hardwood floor. Installed bus parking gates, replaced the fire alarm system that was not working, and installed a new camera system. Allendale Elementary School, the total cost of renovations and repairs there was $18,000. We added gutters, which was needed to prevent the concrete from deteriorating any further. Replaced the doors in the cafeteria that were rotten. Once again, put a awning above the before and after school care, and replaced the parking lot lights with LED lights. Hidnight Elementary School, total cost of repairs and renovations, $120,250. The roof was replaced, which was an insurance claim. Awnings for mobile unit doors were installed because the floor was rotten, and we also in-house replaced the floors next to the doors there that had rotten. Redid the roof and put a new deck on that side. Stony Point, we repaved. The total cost was $64,806 and some change. We had the buses are coming around the back with the new bus plan, and they were rubbing the bottom, so we had to repave and level that out so that they didn't drag the back of the buses. And then at one of the board members' requests, we did remove the rocks where the car riders get on and pave that with concrete so the kids don't trip getting into their cars. At Sugarloaf, we replaced the total repairs was $41,875. We replaced the gym roof, which to my knowledge there has been no actual leaks in there since, which is a very good thing. We put in a small storage building. It's a 21 by 20 storage building. I call that small. And removed the old mobile unit. Taylorsville Elementary School, total cost of repairs, renovations, $124,140. We replaced the gym roof. The cafeteria HVAC unit was replaced. We put barred units on the walls there. We will remove and replace the concrete awning, but that goes along with getting the demolition permit and the timing. We'll have to do that when the kids are not there. And replace the bleacher seats on one side of the gym. West Alexander Middle School, total cost of repairs, renovations, $74,225.90. We installed a canopy at the entry to protect the car riders from the rain. It goes over to the gym and all the way back to the entry. And installed a canopy for the modular units because there was nothing there and water just runs in the doors. And installed a new camera system. Wittenberg Elementary School, total cost of repairs, $396,462. This project in the picture is not complete. They expect to finish the middle of next week. They now do have the Duralast roof over all the other parts. They're just going around and doing the trim. I had put them on a Wednesday and a weekend schedule since the students came back to keep from distracting them, so it slowed them down. Otherwise, they would have been done. And we also installed a canopy for the car rider line there. Student Success Center, we did a security upgrade and created a little, whatever you want to call it, entryway where no one can just walk into the back of come in the door and go to where the students are. That was $6,000. The Board of Education, estimated total cost of repairs is now $424,424. Building repairs and renovations due to rotting, mold, ceiling, falling, flooding. The cost of these repairs has increased due to the number of issues we continue to find. Every time we pull off wallpaper, this is what we find. We find mold, The ceiling's still falling in places. We're getting it fixed slowly. The wood's rotten. We did get a roof in most places. And we have, with tearing out the asphalt and removing some of that stuff, we have stopped the water from coming in, from washing down the driveway. To me, that right there says the whole reason why we needed to do those repairs. And then we received a safety grant, and so we decided to do the window decals to keep people from looking into the schools. And this is just some of the pictures of those, of the 8 schools that we had something. And then, as always, our custodians, they are one of the least recognized groups, but they're doing one heck of a job going around and keeping the schools clean and keeping everything sanitized and clean. And I like to always give them a shout out. Do you have any questions?
Any questions?
Good report.
Doing a fantastic job, Chris.
Thank you.
And all your folks. Thank you, guys.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next I'd like to remind everyone of our Education Foundation grants. This is a grant application season, and those are due by September 30th. So if you have any school people you'd like to remind, and I'd like to ask the principals to remind their staff to send in your applications. Again, those are due by September the 30th. You can go to our school website, go to the community tab in the Alexander County Public Education Foundation page, and then just select the grant application. I've been told it's pretty easy to fill out compared to others. But anyway, we'll be passing those out later on in the fall. Okay, I'd now like to recognize Melinda Glenn, our Virtual Academy Coordinator, for an update. And Dr. Betsy Curry.
Yes, I just wanted to take a minute to introduce Melinda Glenn. She's a former instructional facilitator for Alexander County Schools, and she was chosen by a committee, was it only 2 weeks ago? To fill in as the Virtual Academy Coordinator. So I have to tell you, and that trying to pull this off this summer was like trying to open a new school that was completely innovative. And I was spending a good bit of my day building a school, essentially. And to have her come in, part of the reason she was chosen is she is a workhorse. In fact, I had to tell her to stop sending emails on the weekends because she's making everybody else work hard. But I am so grateful to have her, and I know that in no time at all, where she's got elementary school running pretty smoothly, is working with middle school, and then we'll move to support the high school. So I'm just very grateful to introduce her to you.
Thank you.
Hello. I am honored to be a part of the Alexander Virtual Academy. To be in the groundwork of something that has not been in our county before, I think is such an exciting opportunity. So I see this as a choice for families and for students, something that we haven't had before. And whether they're choosing to come to the Virtual Academy for health reasons or concerns about COVID or just to have a new adventure, I just think it's wonderful that it is a choice for us, because in some counties it's not a choice, it's what everybody's having to do. I also think that it's a chance. It's a chance for us to recreate education and to personalize learning in a way that we've not had before. And I'm just going to be honest, we're not there yet. We're not to personalized learning, and we haven't completely recreated everything yet. But we are starting that process, one step at a time. Okay? So by the numbers, overall, we have 35 teachers teaching virtually, Virtual Academy right now, and we have 654 students. That's a lot who chose to come to Virtual Academy versus making a choice to homeschool or go to private school. So I think that's wonderful. And with the next slide, we have had changes even since school opened. So overall, we've had about 80 new students added. So even after our application process really closed, we still have students who are moving into the county and they are attracted by the idea of virtual education, or for some reason need to come virtual even after they've started the hybrid. And we have had about 50 who have left the Virtual Academy. Most have returned to hybrid. So these are still students that we're not losing as part of our county. They're just returning to the hybrid system now that they kind of see how that's going to work. For some students, this was not exactly what they thought it was going to be. Okay? I think the most exciting part of Virtual Academy to me is the teamwork that we have. It's not really a separate school at this time. It's all 10 of our schools working together. So every week, from the moment I took this position, I've been in contact with administration, where principals are calling me, I'm calling them, social workers, counselors, instructional coaches. Everybody is working on kind of their piece of this process so that we keep students learning and engaged as much as we possibly can. We want to make sure that no one gets left out. And our technology department, you've already heard that we're having some technology issues, and there are some, without question. But the technology department for our county, based at central office and in the schools, and our media coordinators are working constantly to solve those problems. And it's not something that's going to be a quick fix, but we are getting better every single day. Okay? But really, Virtual Academy is so much more than numbers. When you look at the screen, you can see Kelsey Bowman. She's one of our traditional Wittenberg teachers who has gone virtual. And the look on her face as she is engaging those students on the screen is the same look that I've always seen when I walked in her class and saw her teaching face-to-face students. She is still just as engaged, just as motivated, if not more, to make sure that she's reaching them every day. At every level, these are some high school teachers, we're finding new ways to make connections. So you see teachers who are teaching face-to-face and recording themselves to send to students who are remote or going to be virtual. So they really are kind of figuring out how this works best and the best way to get their lessons out to students at high quality. They are being super creative as well. Some of the things that we thought we might miss, like classroom pets, how do you do that virtually? We have teachers who have praying mantises that they found, and they're keeping them at their home, and they're sharing that with their students every day in K2 so that they have that classroom pet. This teacher and a couple others have adopted cows that they can check in on, and their students can check in on in their free time, who are their classroom pets. We even have at the middle school some parents and grandparents who are sitting in to lessons when they're not sure how to help their students as they need to. So this is an opportunity for our parents who want to be involved to really learn the curriculum and be able to help as much as they can. At the same time, we're developing new leaders. You know, you're seeing Amelia Ellswick from Hidden Night there. She is a young teacher, and she, I'm sure, has always been learning from the teachers around her. But she and others like her who are innovative with technology, whether they're new teachers or older teachers, are really becoming our leaders. When we have a problem, I'll get an email and it'll be like, Melinda, how do I do this? Well, I don't have all those answers. So the email goes out from me to our teachers, and somebody will come back and say, I've been working on that. I figured it out. Or I'll go to them and we'll figure it out together. So Amelia is one who has done a couple of videos for us, problem solving some technology issues that we've had on the best way to present as she is teaching. One evening, I received an email from one of our middle school teachers who was watching the movie Hidden Figures. And I don't know if you remember that movie, but it tells the story of female mathematicians working for NASA in 1961. And they were the people that no one really knew about, who were problem solving flight trajectories and how to really make travel in space possible. And this teacher emailed me and she said, I feel like a hidden figure. She said, this is happening and it's all new and we are working on these problems and I'm not sure everybody really sees what we're doing. And I just had to email her back and say, I do. I'm sure I don't know everything that you're doing, but they really are working behind the scenes to make this the best possible situation. So they are the unsung heroes, just like those mathematicians were in Hidden Figures. Some people do see it. We've had some really positive parent comments. This is a comment specifically about Jessica Bowman, who is a first grade teacher, at Hidden Night Elementary School. She went virtual for the first time this year, and the one comment that I loved on this is true about all of our teachers. She has rolled with the punches, smiled and laughed at some of the unpredictable complications that virtual teaching can throw with you. And that is what our teachers are doing every day. Something happens. A lot of times it goes great, sometimes it doesn't. But they are working with it, figuring it out, making the best of it, and making connections with our students as much as they can. So in general, parent comments. Whenever we've had a family leave Virtual Academy, for whatever reason or wherever they're going, I have contacted them to say, What could we have done better? What was positive about your experience? Go in both directions. And the positives are our teachers. We have phenomenal teachers in Alexander County. Whether they are virtual or face-to-face, they are the best of the best. Parents also love the individual time that teachers are having with students. As we've assessed, where typically, the students are busy in centers, which is really difficult with COVID this year, our teachers are able to assess one-on-one and talk to students individually as they're being assessed. So that is a real plus. And they also love that this is a safe option for everyone. There are concerns. Parents, not all parents completely understood what it was going to look like, what the schedule was going to be. So some are worried that it's not completely flexible and it's not completely asynchronous. They kind of want to see a video and do this on their own with their students at whatever time of day they want to. And that is not what we're doing at this time. Our students do have set times to be on Zoom so that they are getting instruction from the teacher, and then they also have time to work independently on their own schedule. Some parents were concerned about too much time on the computer. I had one parent who said, "We just don't do computer things. We don't watch TV." It is Virtual Academy, so there is going to be a significant amount of time on the computer. So typically our students are on the computer with their teacher between 2 to 3 hours per day. And it's not 2 to 3 hours all at once. It is developmentally appropriate between 30 minutes to 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the grade level. And then we have had technology problems, which we had to expect, and we are continuing to problem solve those as we go. We had concerns from staff from the very beginning. They were worried about being strong virtual teachers. They were worried about the ability to develop relationships with students. But what they found is they're not developing relationships just with students, but with the whole family. Because especially in our K-2 homes, there's somebody sitting there near that child to help problem solve technology, to help them when they need to. A kindergartner does need somebody to help them show how to hold a pencil. So they are really getting to develop that relationship with mom, dad, grandma, or whoever else is there to help them, not just one child who's in their classroom. And they are amazed at how quickly they can connect to students. They are, through the computer, learning our personalities. Students are making jokes. It is still that close-knit relationship that they would have had at school. And I love the bottom one. It is a lot of work, but it's worthwhile. But we're also problem solving every day, and that makes every day better than the day before. So it is not perfect at this time, but it is getting better. Y'all have any questions?
Any questions or comments?
Oh, you're doing a great job.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Anytime you start something new, it's going to be very difficult. And my own family, kids taking online classes, we have online issues, and it's a storm. There's a storm coming through, so the Zoom's not working, and I get it. So it's something we all just have to work through a little bit at a time. Like you said, as long as it's getting better every day, we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. And our teachers are really the key. They are just working themselves to pieces and doing a great job.
Well, I'm going to put in a comment that I think you're perfect in this role, in this leadership role, and I appreciate everything that you have done in a very short amount of time to keep the program afloat and make sure that everyone's growing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, board members, I'll now open it up for our committee reports. If you've met with a committee and would like to report on it at this time.
Chairman Ryan, I'll start with the Booster Club report. Last week, me and you both was there in attendance for that. Nathan spoke on the camera system, which was a big conversation, but a couple other things. They did elect new officers. Fortunately, Jeremy Fortner is going to continue to be president. He's done an outstanding job with that, so he will still run that show. I'm very thankful for him. We talked about baseball field and everything that's been done there, and just the great job Chris Gamble and his crew and everybody's put a baseball field that this school should be very proud of. We talked a little bit, I think all of us, probably most or all of us on this stage has bought tickets for the steak dinner raffle, and so many people in the community do that. They're continuing to do that, and it will be done. They're probably going to do a pickup steak dinners and a online or some kind of YouTube raffle at that time, and it's going to be announced as soon as they get it put together. So Booster Club are doing great things. Even though sports have not took off yet, they're still continuing to do great things.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman.
And the Facilities Committee met, and we reviewed the plans for additions and renovations at Sugarloaf School. And I think that we now have very workable plans after quite a few revisions and sendbacks. But we have asked for those projects to be broken down into individual projects with a dollar figure attached, so we know what we're attempting. But we did decide that we would like to go ahead and do the renovations to the cafeteria at this time. I don't think that really takes board approval because it's within Dr. Hefner's realm of approval there. But it's just a good time to do the cafeteria while it's not being utilized as much with the kids not being in there, and I think we should move forward with that.
Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Shrum. Are there any other committee reports? Okay, so I'll turn over to Dr. Hefner for our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Chairman Ryan. This is attached in your agenda if you want to follow along. I only added one bullet after I submitted it to Deborah, so I apologize. There will be one item that is not in the original report. But as far as legislative news, I wanted to let everyone know that state legislators reconvened last week and passed a roughly $1 billion spending bill and adjourned until January of 2021. House Bill 1105, the Corona Relief Act 3.0, passed the Senate 44-5 on Wednesday and then passed the House 104-10 on Thursday. The governor can either sign the bill into law, veto the bill, or if he takes no action, the bill will automatically become law after 30 days without his signature. I wanted to highlight the following things because these are very pertinent to K-12 education. The first being ADM hold harmless. Some of you had heard me speak about that. It's in section 3.1. Good news for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. The State Board of Education shall determine the allocations for average daily membership, or ADM, to applicable public school units by using the higher of the actual or anticipated allotted ADM. So what that means is we always have a projected ADM, and in Alexander, because our student enrollment continues to decline, it will be most beneficial that we are allotted on that higher number than we actually have, because in sharing numbers with the Board of Education, on about the 10th day of school, we had 200 fewer students this year than we did on the 10th day last year. So that is a big win for systems like Alexander County. Now, believe it or not, even in this region, I know of one school system that their student enrollment is higher than it was last year, and that's up in Allegheny. I cannot explain that, but everyone else in the region that reported had lower numbers than they did last year because of the pandemic. After funding adjustments are made, the State Board of Education shall not reduce allotments for local school administrative units due to the difference between the actual and the anticipated or allotted ADM. So Sharon Mahaffey, big win for us. We do not have to revert back money this year. Another big win, and this is for our principals, and I see a couple of principals in the audience tonight. Principal pay is being held harmless. That's in section 3.1A. The ADM of a principal school is determined by using the school's ADM from the 2019-20 school year. If the school did not have an ADM in 1920, during that year, the school's projected ADM for the 2020-2021 school year must be used. So that is not applicable to any of us. We all had ADMs in our schools last year, and that is the number that will be used in that first tier of the principal's pay. So you all are held harmless there as well. Great news. Other things, there is an increase of funding for public schools. This is in section 1.2, $10 million for internet connectivity, $20 million for personal protective equipment. We often call that PPE. $17 million for in-person services for exceptional children. Again, all very needed. I guess as a superintendent, I can put in my ad lib in some areas. Something that was a bit concerning, opportunity scholarship changes, that was in section 3.3, removes the K-1 grade cap on scholarship grant applications, and of course you all know that that's to private schools. It increases the household income eligibility level from 133% to 150% of the amount required for the student to qualify for the federal free or reduced price lunch program. And then another concern, the increase in the virtual charter enrollment. That was in section 3.2, increases North Carolina Cyber Academy by 1,000 children and increases the North Carolina Virtual Academy by 2,800 students. This overrides the State Board of Education's recent denial of a request to increase enrollment. This could impact school districts' budgets if additional students from our area enroll in one of the virtual charters. And just so that you all know, I do sign off on that every month. We do have children already currently enrolled in the North Carolina virtual charters. So, that could increase. The General Assembly will reconvene for the 2021 legislative session on Wednesday, January 13th. Legislators could possibly return prior to the 2021 session for either a veto override vote or a budget session called by the governor. Bullet number 2, I want to just publicly thank the owners and management of True Value, the True Value store in Taylorsville. They continually support our school system through grants, and you all have heard me most recently talk about paint grants. Well, today, 5 of our school nurses and I accepted a huge supply of health and safety products at the store. This donation was part of an Educational Heroes Safety campaign and included the following items: hand soap, hand sanitizer, all-purpose cleaner with bleach, all-purpose cleaner without bleach, K95 mask, and a variety of other things. The purpose of the grant was to protect our frontline educational heroes to allow our children to learn. Again, I am so grateful for True Value to have their support, but also the other acts of support that we find throughout the community. So I just say a special thank you to True Value. All in all, Board, things have gone very well with our reentry plans. The Alexander County School System has received COVID funds to be spent in the areas of summer learning, health professionals, non-digital resources, student computers, child nutrition, personnel devices, hotspots, exceptional children, cybersecurity, and supplemental low wealth funds. The largest allotment was the CARES Act funds that we are using to establish our virtual academy that we just heard about, over 600 children. The other categories of funds are much smaller and don't cover the amount we need. For example, we received $156,493 in personnel devices, but that only provides enough funds to purchase 20 devices for teacher assistants, psychologists, clerical, and other non-certified employees. So did you hear? The amount that we have used only went so far as to cover 20 devices for all of those categories of people, and you all know that we have many more than 20 of those folks. The funds have specific guidance on the way they're spent. The general guidance is as follows. Eligible expenditures are those incurred from March 1st to December 30th, 2020. Funds may only be used for necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency with respect to the coronavirus disease 2019, or we also call it COVID-19. Necessary expenditures incurred due to the public health emergency mean expenditures used for actions taken to respond to the public health emergency. Funds may not be used for revenue replacement or to otherwise fill shortfalls in government revenue. So what that means is it can't be used to supplant. Funds may not be used to directly account for revenue shortfalls related to the COVID-19 outbreak. Funds may not be used for expenditures that were previously included in the unit's budget as of March 27th, 2020. Funds may not be used for expenses that have been or will be reimbursed under any federal program. For example, we can use the funds to purchase new devices, but we can't use the funds to cover the leases of our current devices. And on a happier note, you all received this in your last update from me, but Mr. Jacob Lale is the Alexander County Schools 2020 Principal of the Year. Due to COVID-19, the school system was unable to recognize Mr. Lale at a big celebration that we typically hold in May, but he has been the principal at West Alexander Middle School since July 2019. He has also served as an assistant principal at Alexander Central High School and East Alexander Middle School. Mr. Lale has a master's degree in educational leadership from the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. He has his bachelor's degree in history, secondary education from Appalachian State University. He taught advanced placement courses, specifically United States history at Alexander Central High School and social studies at the middle school and high school levels. Please join me in congratulating our 2020-2021 Principal of the Year, Mr. Jacob Lale, and he's so very deserving. And then lastly, I was waiting for the governor's new orders about mass gatherings to go into effect, and you all know that those went into effect this past Friday, before I made plans to recognize the retirees for the 2019-2020 school year. Deborah Watts and I will work to get a celebration of some sort together later this month, and as soon as that date is determined and the details are finalized, I will contact each of you. And again, you all know that in the governor's orders, if you do an activity, a mass gathering inside, that is limited to 25. So that won't be large enough to do the entire group if we let them invite their families. If we do something outdoors, we can do it up to 50 people with social distancing. And again, I'm not sure that they would be able to invite their families. So something will be planned in the month of September so that we still have pretty weather if we do choose to do something outdoors, but the retirees will be recognized during this month. So more to come. Do you have any questions?
I do, Dr. Hefner.
Yes.
Speaking of internet capabilities.
Yes.
Do you know how many families in our county have problems, still need internet capabilities? Do we know that?
We have done some surveying, and I'm going to have to call on Dr. Kluwer. She's back in the equipment area. Dr. Kluwer, do you have a number? I see Danny is back there also. I know surveys have been done, but do we know the number of families having internet issues or they don't have connectivity? Yes.
I actually put that survey out with Kim Bishop, but she's not here tonight.
Yes.
And we think it's just under 20%. It's really hard to get an accurate number because oftentimes people will not understand if they don't have broadband.
Yes.
Or if they don't have internet from a service provider. So we have to be very, very clear with the multiple surveys, but we're guessing at about 20%.
Okay, so what was just reported to me for those watching or listening the live feed, just under 20% of our families do not have internet connectivity. So that continues to be a problem, especially in some of the outer areas. I know that I have family in Allendale. They struggle with that. Board Member Brixey, you can speak to that. But also, we have areas of Hidnight and the Vashti area. They certainly struggle also. So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
thank you.
Any other comments,
Or
questions?
questions?
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Hebner. Okay, we'll move on to new business, and I'll recognize Ms. Sharon Mahaffey for our Board of Education policy revisions.
Good evening. This month, we only have 3 policies up for revision, the first reading, and I will gather some input and bring them back next month.
Thank you. All right, members of the board, we'll move into our closed session pursuant to General Statute 143-318-11A6. If there's a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.